Good afternoon. I'm Jeff Cornett. I'm going to be going over short field takeoff and short field landing procedures. The reason why they teach us this and we have to demonstrate it is that not every runway that you're going to be landing or taking off from in the near future won't be long and wide just like the ones we're used to at training or going to Class C or Class D airports. I'm going to go over the short field takeoffs, the procedures with the 172 Skyhawk, and then the ACS standards on that, and I'm going to go after the landings procedures on that also with the ACS standards. So a short field takeoff, prior to your takeoff, you want to do all your weight and balance calculations along with the runway calculations with temperature and everything else. You want to make sure you have all the information you can about the runway that you're going to be using. So you got your lengths, your widths, and then you're going to take your weight and balance from how much you weigh, and then the outside air temperature, and then go through your POH and make sure that you have the right amount of runway for you to use to take off. Another important thing to do, especially with these aircraft that we use for training, is that they're not brand new from the manufacturer where the POH was built and written and tested. You should multiply whatever distance they gave you or what you came up with out of your calculations by 1.5. Doing so will give you a 50% safety buffer in case the aircraft doesn't perform perfect as the POH says it's going to. So once you come out, you get onto your runway, your calculations are good and everything. On a 172, the flaps should be at 10% or 10 degrees. So you'll put it at 10 degrees, taxi onto the runway, and you're gonna use up every inch of that runway as possible. So you're gonna backtrack, the taxiway comes out here, and it has another threshold out here, you come back all the way to the end of that runway, and then center up on the middle of the runway, make sure your nose wheel is straight, and apply full brakes. After you apply full brakes, you're gonna apply full power, and we're assuming that this is gonna be sea level, so there's gonna be no lean, you're gonna be full rich, and you're gonna monitor the RPMs for high performance. When it's static, sitting there on the ground and not moving, you're gonna be looking at around 2200 RPMs. Should be within that green band. And if you have full performance in the RPMs, and then you're going to want to look at the rest of the engine instruments. You want to make sure that your engine oil pressure is in the green and your engine oil temp is in the green. Once you verify everything is good to go, you're going to release brakes, keep everything neutral, and you're going to accelerate to VR, your rotation speed. In 172, it's going to be 55 knots. Once you hit 55 knots, you're going to go ahead and rotate, and then you're going to climb out at VX. VX in this aircraft is 64 knots, and you're going to maintain 64 knots until you either clear this obstacle, or if there is no obstacle, you have to be at least 50 feet off the runway. And once you're there, you accelerate, pitch down, accelerate to VY, which is going to be 78 knots, and then raise your flaps. Then you're just going to keep on climbing out as to what the DP is going to tell you. Then you have your ACS standards for this procedure. When you do your VX climb out on the initial, you are allowed plus or minus 5 knots during this climb out. And then once you accelerate and pitch down, you're going to have another plus or minus 5 knots on VY. They want to make sure that you verify that the flaps come up once you get to your VY over the obstacle or 50 feet above the runway. And then maintain VY until you're in a safe maneuvering altitude or the DP tells you to stop climbing. They also want to verify that you can keep directional control for crosswinds and headwinds. So if you're taking off on runway, this is like 3.5, that once you're out and climbing, you're still on that center line going towards 350 degrees. All right, now that we've gone over short field takeoffs, I'm going to move on to short field landings. So for short field landings, just like on short field takeoffs, prior to getting to this runway, this is back in your whole flight planning when you're getting ready to take off for this destination, you need to have the information about that runway. You need to know its distances, or its lengths, its widths, what obstacles are around it, so that you can do your calculations prior to getting there to know how much landing distance you need to stop safely once you get there. What you need to do is once you fly to this airport, and we're assuming they don't have any weather reporting, you're going to fly over it, and you're going to scan the landing area for the wind information, wind socks and whatnot, and a suitable touchdown point, if there's an obstacle or not, where you want your rear wheels to be touching down, and any runway obstacles. If it can be out in the middle of nowhere, there can be a dog, a deer, or something that's out there. Once you figure out where your touchdown point is and it's going to be safe, You're going to get to the traffic pattern, and once you're in the traffic pattern, you're going to be established on your speed is going to be 1.3 times your VSO, which is full flaps out stall speed, or what the POH states. So the POH for the 172 is a 60 knot approach for a short field landing. So once you're on final, you want to be established at 60 knots. You have your full flaps in, and then you're going to have your aiming point prior to your touchdown point. And make sure you clear your obstacle, and then once you get to your aiming point, you're going to go ahead and flare out. The ground effect's going to take over, and then you need your rear wheels to touch down where your point was, so that way you have maximum landing distance. Once the wheels have touched the ground, you're going to apply full brakes and then full back pressure on the yoke for aerodynamic drag to stop the aircraft. The ACS standards for a short field landing is that you establish the published approach speed and configuration. So on this aircraft, again, full flaps and 60 knots is your approach speed. They want you to maintain 1.3 times VSO or what the POH states, and they give you a +5 or -5 knots on that. Your touchdown point, you need to touch down on your point or within 100 feet after that touchdown point, 0 before. So if those wheels touch down before your touchdown point, that's automatic fail. They also want to see if you're not able to properly maintain your 60 knots or touch down your point or within the 100 feet afterwards. They want to see you execute a proper go around. That you won't fail for a go around. They want to see you do that because then that's good decision making that you know you're not going to be able to perform at the standard, and you need to execute a go around, which will also help you out in real life. That if you're coming in and you're thinking, oh no, my back wheels aren't going to touch until halfway down this short field, you're not going to have enough time to stop. So you need to be able to perform a go around. And that concludes my briefing. Thank you.